Hello everyone, my name is Julia and today I'm going to be covering the chakra system. So you may have heard about the chakras in a yoga class, maybe you've heard me talk about them even in my yoga classes, but you might not realize what they are or what they do, and so that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about today in this video. So please note that this video does not cover everything about the chakras. This is just a very basic overview, and I will not be going into the specific functions of each chakra just because it would be way too much information. And it can be hard for our Western minds to wrap around these ways of thinking that we aren't used to, and it can also be kind of overwhelming. And so that is why I am making this video as a sort of introduction to the chakra system as a whole. The chakra system in yoga were first mentioned in the Vedas. The Vedas are a series of hymns, and they are the oldest written tradition in India, and they come from 2000 BCE, which is a very long time ago. So thinking of that, you can see that the chakra system is not something to be taken lightly. It's an ancient cultural tradition. So just keep that in mind as we go along. This isn't something that is just made up out of nowhere. This is something that people have been practicing as a belief system for a long time. And so you may be wondering, what are the chakras? And so the word chakra translates to wheel or disc, and they are vortexes of energy, and they spin like gears. And so one chakra will spin one way, and then the one above it will spin the opposite way, and then they kind of work together like gears, sort of spinning one another as they go up. And the definition of the chakras, which I took from this book, Wheels of Life by Anodea Judith. This is where most of my information about the chakras comes from. Her definition is that the chakras are an organizational center for reception, assimilation, and transmission of life energy. And in yoga, life energy can be known as prana. That's what we call it in yoga, according to the 8 limbs written by Patanjali in, we'll say, 200 BCE. It's hard to know the exact dates and times when these ideas were first developed, just because it was such a long time ago that not a lot of records exist from back then, and so it's just kind of hard to pinpoint exactly when these things were first talked about or invented. Anyway, you can also think of the chakras as a sort of bridge between the physical world that we live in, this world of limitation, physical objects and things and people, and it bridges to the world of the divine, sort of more abstract thoughts, consciousness, and beliefs, that kind of thing. And you can also think of the chakras as gateways to different dimensions, and different dimensions can be viewed as the physical body or emotional body, and just the different layers of the human experience. There are 7 basic chakras that exist in the subtle body. And so the subtle body are those different dimensions that I was just mentioning. The subtle body is a non-physical psychic body that is superimposed onto our physical bodies. It includes our physical bodies, but it's also much more than that. And so the word kosha is used to describe these different layers of the subtle body. And the word kosha means sheath or veil, and it includes the physical body, the energy body, the emotional body, the wisdom body, and the bliss body. And again, these are just the different sort of experiences that we have as a human. So I won't go too much into that, but you can also know or think of the subtle body as an electromagnetic force field within and around every living creature. And then this can appear as like a soft glow around that person. So they have actually developed special cameras that can photograph this subtle body around us, which is really interesting. And it can appear in different colors and as sort of like spindling fibers. The 7 basic chakras form the Sushumna, and this is a vertical column of energy located, I believe it's in front of the spine. but it is not the spine. It is this column of energy. And beside, around, and within this sushumna are hundreds and thousands of meridians or nadis. Meridian is the word that comes from Chinese medicine, whereas the word nadis comes from Indian, Hindu, Sanskrit origins. And the word nadis means little rivers. And so a river is just anything that is transporting energy. A river does not have to involve water. And so in this case, these nadis are energy channels that flow throughout the body and are connected to the chakras. You can kind of think of them as like roadways transporting energy. And they also correlate with the different physical bodily functions such as blood vessels and nerves, which is also kind of interesting. And the seven chakras, they also correlate with nerve endings as well. So the 7 main chakras are located along 7 main ganglia, which are nerve endings along the spinal cord. So it is connected through physical anatomy as well, except this was developed long before physical anatomy was studied. And so there are 2 major nadis that we think about when talking about the chakras, and they are the Ida and Pingala. The Ida is the more yin side. So yin is anything that is cold and dark and feminine. It's correlated with the goddess Shakti, the goddess of creation. And then the Pingala is the more masculine side, the more yang side, the sun, hot, and it's associated with the god Shiva, who is the god of destruction. So they're opposites, they're dualities. And when talking about the chakras and yoga, we have 20 gunas, and they're these polarities, these opposites, and they all exist in order to create balance in the universe, within ourselves, and within every tiny structure. And going back to this idea of the 7 main chakras, the lower ones are to provide a foundation. So the first chakra starts at the base of the spine. It's Muladhara, the root chakra, and you can think of that as our foundation. And so when we work in the chakras, it's important that we start with the lower ones first because they're our foundation. So we have to build that foundation for spiritual growth. And you can think of it like the roots of a tree. So a tree root will grow downward, will push down into the earth so that the tree can grow taller, right? And so the chakras are like the same idea. You have to start with your foundation so that you can have something solid to grow upon. And so a lot of people think of enlightenment as the 7th chakra is activating the top chakras, but you can't get there unless you activate the lower ones first. So just keeping that in mind if you are someone who wants to start working in the chakras. So the chakras are also depicted as lotuses, and they symbolize the opening of the chakra. So when you see them depicted in images, you can see sort of the unfolding of the petals, and each one has a different amount of petals on it. And this is because the lotus is a sacred flower of India. And the lotuses are very symbolic as well. They grow from the mud, they stay rooted down to the earth, and then they grow all the way up to the surface of the water, and that's where they can blossom. And so with the chakras, it's symbolizing that development of the path from the primitive self to the higher levels of consciousness. We have to stay rooted down through those foundational chakras, the first, second, third, so on, and establish those first before we can achieve those higher levels of consciousness in the upper chakras. And so how exactly do the chakras work? Basically, anything the chakra encounters on its particular vibrational level gets drawn into the chakra, processed, and then passed out again. And the chakras are made of symbolic patterns of our own mental and physical programming, which governs the way that we behave. And so these include our habits, our tendencies, patterns, stories that we tell ourselves, excuses, and repeated movements and things that we just do every day. And these sort of patterns are known as karma. So karma is this idea that every action has a reaction. It's cause and effect. And so when we say that we're stuck in a chakra, this is karma that we're talking about. And sometimes this can be a habit, or it can also manifest as a job or a relationship, or just even a way of thinking or an outdated belief. Those can all cause you to become sort of stuck in a chakra. And the only way to stop the karmic cycle is to cease reaction. So when we say that we are working in the chakras, we're doing chakra work, it means that we're cleaning the chakras of old, non-beneficial behaviors or patterns so that we can grow and expand to higher levels of consciousness. So chakras can be either open or closed, excessive or deficient, and then they can vary on different levels anywhere in between. And these can change from moment to moment, or these can change throughout an entire lifetime. It works on all dimensions, all levels. So if a chakra is blocked in a closed state, then it is unable to generate or receive energy on that particular plane. For example, the fourth chakra is the heart chakra. It governs our ability to give and receive love. And so if the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, is blocked in a closed state, then you might not be able to give or receive love freely. Now, a chakra can also be blocked in an open state. And so if a chakra is blocked in an open or excessive state, that means it tends to channel all energies through that particular plane. So if your fourth chakra, your heart chakra, is blocked in an open or excessive state, then you might use all situations to give and receive love when maybe a different type of behavior would be more appropriate at that time. And so basically, a closed chakra is chronic avoidance of certain energies. An excessively open chakra is chronic fixation. So they're both blockages, but one is a closed block and one is an open block. And a block in the functioning of one chakra can also affect the activity of one of the other chakras, either above or below it. And so they're all connected. For example, maybe you have a block in your fifth chakra, which is your throat chakra, your ability to communicate freely. You might have trouble then with your third chakra, your solar plexus, which governs your personal power, because if you're not able to effectively communicate, then maybe your ability to have a high self-esteem is then compromised. And so they all correspond to one another, which is why you can't really just work with one chakra only. They all affect each other and build on each other. The chakras correspond to everything in our life and our experience. So from physical sensations like having butterflies in your stomach, to even activities that we do on a day-to-day basis, like our jobs, even dreaming at night, maybe listening to music. And then they can also correspond to the stages of life that we're in throughout time. So when we're a baby, we're only developing the first chakra. There's no way we can develop any higher ones because at that point we're only focused on survival. And so they correspond to where we are through our age, but then they also correspond to our cultural lifestyle and the expectations of society that we're in. So it'll differ from where we live now here versus someone on the other side of the world. And then finally, the chakras correspond to where we are evolutionarily, yeah. So as a society, we move along the chakras. So back in, I don't know, we'll say caveman days, I don't know the proper terminology there, we would be working at the first chakra because we're just focusing on survival needs. But then as we advance as a society, we move up the chakras and then we can work on connection and then we can work with technology. And so right now as a society, it is believed that we are at the third chakra, which is the center of power and control. But it's kind of hopeful because after we move beyond this chakra, we get to the fourth. And the fourth chakra is the center of love. So I think that we're working towards the fourth chakra right now. We're getting past this obsession with greed and power and working towards more to a place of love. And there's something really interesting that happens at the fourth chakra. While all of it is a bridge from the physical world to the world of the divine, the fourth chakra is really that place where it becomes that bridge. It's where we get elements such as air and gas and things that are no longer physical. And it's just a really interesting thing to see happen and something to move towards. And thinking of it that way, just know that better times are coming. So you guys, the chakra system has everything to do with the way that we live our lives as just one person and as a society and as a universe. So know that what I covered in this video today was only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more than what I talked about in this video. But thank you so much for watching and going on this journey with me. Namaste.